Powerful Nerdcast assembles!
Stay dandy, baby.
Hey everybody, welcome to another live edition of the Powerful Nerdcast, and man, we have an exciting episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the big finale of Loki and the latest episode of Rick and Morty, but before we jump into that, we would just like to ask you guys to continue to subscribe, watch our channel, check out all the cool stuff, do that whole YouTube algorithm thing, make sure they can see us in the
Smash
flow
that like
of
button.
content. Hit that like button. Do it. It really is easy. Not to mention, if you want to go that extra mile in supporting our channel and this podcast, make sure to check out our Patreon page. It's really easy to do. You can make a small donation. And remember, first-time donators will review an anime series of your choosing. But let's go ahead and jump in today's episode, which is a really exciting one because for the last couple weeks, we've been kind of hobbling around this whole Loki TV show because, one, I haven't caught up to it.
Yes.
Christian, you've been really excited to talk about it. Well, we finally all kind of sat down, caught up on the show. We watched the final episode, which has only been out for, like, what, the last 12 hours?
Yeah, it hasn't been long.
Yeah. So I think it goes without saying we're about to talk about the final episode of the season. So, spoiler warning. You have been warned. We're going into some massive spoiler territory here. We're going to talk about the entire series, the finale, and the repercussions that this is going to have for the future of the Marvel Universe itself. So let's go ahead and jump right into the final episode and some of the bigger events right here. So this was a crazy finale, but it also wasn't that crazy in a sense that it was basically 40 minutes of seeing characters sit down in a chair and talk to each other.
Yeah, that was essentially it. I mean, we had Loki, and then we had female Loki, and then we had who were, you know, assuming is it Craig? Cran?
Craig the Conqueror?
Kang the Conqueror. Kang.
Yeah.
It's Kang.
They never say his name the entire time, but,
no.
You know, this entire show has been about timelines and time travel, so it's been assumed that probably Kang the Conqueror, a classic Marvel villain, was probably going to be involved in some senses.
Yes.
Especially because they're already building up the fact that Kang the Conqueror is going to be a main villain in, of all places, the next Ant-Man film. But basically, we got to see a variation of Kang in the final episode of this series, who just so happens to be the mysterious wizard behind the curtain, essentially. He is basically who's been running the TVA this entire time, and essentially this whole Loki show has been a part of his grand plan in order to bring both Loki and Sylvie to him so that one of two major outcomes could happen. One of those outcomes is that basically he would die and Sylvie and Loki would run the TVA, or they would kill him, and suddenly the sacred timeline would start to split off into all of these different variances and multiple universes, and basically chaos would ensue, and all of the various versions of Kang the Conqueror are going to come to the forefront, starting a massive, multi-dimensional war.
So in some ways, I was blown away by this episode because it was more than I thought it was going to be. And in other ways, which I want to get way up front, it was a lot of repetitive talk while sitting in a chair. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, I was underwhelmed by that because I was like, man, I kind of already understand how multiverse theory works, mostly because I watch a lot of Rick and Morty, you know, and I feel like that whole theme is becoming very popular in so many mediums. In some ways, it's an overused writing tool. But overall, I liked how the episode ended with, like, Loki getting back to the TVA and finding out that he's actually in a different timeline. Mm-hmm. He's not even in the timeline he thought he was, because by the time he got back and started talking to everyone, they didn't even know who he was. And then he realizes when he looks over and sees the big three people who were supposed to be in control, their statues are now gone, and now it's just Craig the Conqueror. I'm going to stick with that. We're going to
stick with this whole Craig thing.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, well, yeah, that was also a really great thing, too, because the episode just sort of ends abruptly there.
Yeah.
With all this crazy shit happening, and then we're just like, wait, what? It happened. I remember we all sort of audibly got mad and kind of gasped a little.
Yeah.
But in classic Marvel fashion, they do, I wouldn't call it a post-credit scene, but they do the announcement that there is going to be a second season of Loki.
Which I'm all about.
Which is great. Of the brand new Disney Plus Marvel shows, it's the only one to have a second season thus far, at least one that's been confirmed anyway. And what's also really great about this episode, and the reason I liked it so much, is because of the big ripple effect that it's going to actually end up having on the larger Marvel universe, because a lot of the big movies that are coming out are actually going to involve Kang himself. They're going to involve the multiverses and all these various dimensions, whether it be Doctor Strange, which even in the title of the damn thing is called the Multiverse of Madness. And
we assume some of Spider-Man will end up involving this as well.
Yes, we have No Way Home. We don't know if that's going to involve... Supposedly a trailer for that's coming out next week.
Very excited about that.
Which is going to be awesome, which I believe our producer Michael in the back was telling us, the timing of it is kind of perfect because of how everything wrapped up here in Loki. It's the perfect time to show off all that stuff in Spider-Man because there might have been some spoilers that pertain to things that are going on here. For all we know, Loki and the TVA and Mobius and all them could be showing up in a lot of these different films. So I really do love how the importance of these TV shows, unlike the previous Marvel TV shows, are really having an effect on the movies, and they are all connected in a sense.
Yes.
So
I just overall, I loved this episode because it was a good conclusion for the season, but it was actually not my favorite episode of the season.
It definitely wasn't my favorite. It's living up to Alligator Loki is going to be fucking impossible.
Yes.
I loved Alligator Loki.
I felt like that was a fun episode.
That was the most fun episode.
It was very Loki driven.
Yeah.
There wasn't a bunch of story to push, except for in the end when they had to get past the large. What was that? What's the creature's name?
Alioth?
The smoke.
Alioth.
The smoke dog bear.
Alioth. The smoke dog bear wolf thing.
Yeah.
Which again they explain in the final episode was actually created when all of these different multiverses were starting to be born.
And it's able to eat
that.
time and space itself.
Yeah, and then this version, this variant of Kang, sort of like weaponized it and used it to sort of start taking control of all the other multiverses, destroying them, and basically creating his very own special timeline itself.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Kang for a second, because he was a really interesting aspect of this episode. Again, not the classic Kang that you would expect from maybe the comic
books.
Not a
big evil guy.
No, he came across as kind of, a character that's kind of perfectly fit in the whole Loki storyline. Like he's kind of goofy himself, kind of funny and over the top.
Yeah.
But still, he was so powerful still, like he could dodge everything that Sylvie and Loki were like trying to do to him. I mean, Sylvie wanted this asshole dead.
Because in her mind, he had caused all the pain in her life.
Yeah.
And Loki, part of his evolution as a character is kind of like, hey, we can't just stab this guy and call it a day. Like maybe we should consider what we're doing here is bad. And of course, she just turns it around on him, saying, you just want to be in control and you just want to be the king. And he's like, I think I actually don't, but I also don't think killing this guy is the right move.
Yeah.
And she got rid of him.
Yeah, and we actually had a little bit of action between them. We had another fight between Sylvie and Loki, which was cool.
And Loki fights are interesting because Loki does have powers. He's not super powerful in the sense of his ability to like blast beams and stuff. But
he's no Thor.
He's not Thor, but he still has abilities that kind of give him the upper hand in battles that are interesting. Obviously, the upper hand doesn't really matter when you're fighting another Loki.
Exactly.
But it's still interesting.
We did have, the expected moment between both of them where they would kiss each other, which is weird because it's basically Loki kissing himself.
But he's into that.
But, that's just kind of his thing. Honestly, I've always thought it was fitting that he was falling in love with himself.
It's so a Loki. Standard narcissism trope.
Exactly. And Loki is without a doubt one of the most narcissistic characters ever, especially even in the Marvel Universe. So that moment was appreciated, but it was also felt, it came with a nice twist because you think maybe she's going to start understanding Loki, maybe she's going to go along with his plan, and then she ends up using Kang's weird little, whatever they call them things, to open up the doorways to push him into the other, dimensional TVA universe. Yes. And then she just kills Kang outright, and then boom, the universe just starts exploding in all these brand new timelines, which... The thing I'm most excited about it for is just the effect it will have on the Marvel Universe. This could be a great way to introduce a lot of interesting variants of other characters. We could see this as a potential way to bring, like, Venom into the Spider-Man universe, maybe the X-Men. There's so much promise for the future of this.
It's essentially a blank slate for the writing staff to do whatever they want.
Exactly.
But I also find it's interesting, and I'm going to go into Loki a little bit here.
Yeah.
Loki himself is an interesting character because they make it seem like he's evolving into a good guy or at least an anti-hero.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he could just not be a good guy later.
Yeah.
And it would still make sense. Like he could just betray someone again and they'd be like, that's Loki. And I'm like, but at the same time, it makes me hard to care about him as a character because it's like, he may be an interesting character, but at the same time, Like all this build up that you've been building him can just be erased because at one time he can just decide to be evil again.
That's true.
So it's sort of like I like Loki as a character because he's entertaining, but I'm still having a hard time caring about him, if that makes sense.
I don't know if that's a detriment to the show. I mean, it is the Loki show.
Yes.
He almost felt in some ways kind of like, and it's weird because he's not like a side character in his own show. But I mean, Sylvie is Loki too, so it's very strange how it's handled. But I still think that this is, of the Marvel TV shows at this point, this one might be my favorite.
Well, I have to say, I think I still like, I don't know, Scarlet Witch was a good show.
And that's funny because most people didn't like that one as much.
I just understood it
but
way
I liked
more.
WandaVision quite a bit.
Yeah, I liked WandaVision a lot because I felt like it was way more grounded. Obviously, not really because of the magic and stuff, but I'm saying it was, in its essence, it was the story of someone dealing with the pain of loss. And you could keep saying that if you wanted to say Falcon Winter Soldier was essentially them dealing with the pain of losing Steve Rogers, but wrapped in an action movie, you know, different kind of story though. And I don't know, Falcon Winter Soldier felt like an action movie that had 8 episodes or 6 episodes. Okay. Well,
hey, we're going to turn up the volume just a little bit here.
We're low?
It might be a little low.
I think that's more of a Michael thing, not an us. Because we're hitting normal levels, Corey. We don't need to be doing that here.
Sorry, guys. Just, you know.
How low is it? Is it too low? What are they saying, Corey?
Just said the volume is just a little too low from Emblem Night. I just want to make sure everybody's able to hear us properly, but still,
we're using another piece of software this time. Again, we're using this as a way to test our equipment. Yeah. So we are always trying new things. So sorry, guys.
But I think it's gotten better with every week, personally.
Well, we seem to be layering new complexity every week. I don't know. We're getting there.
we're getting there.
We're getting there.
But overall, like, you know, the first season of Loki, like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's really carved out its like way in the Marvel universe?
For me, Loki was the most exciting show. I'm not saying I like it the most. I'm just saying the most exciting because I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what to expect. It could have easily been a Rick and Morty show where Loki goes on a new adventure every week, and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
However, it went in a different thing where they did a bunch of world building, and essentially they're using this Loki show to set up a bunch of stuff that's going to travel into the movies. So I liked it a lot, but I think I'm going to enjoy going back and watching the earlier episodes now.
Yeah. They might have, having previous knowledge and going back and rewatching the show might make it a more richer experience because it's a lot to take in at first, especially the first couple of episodes.
Yes.
Because there is just so much unknown about this because it is new. A lot of it is based on Marvel comic characters, but they're kind of doing their own thing with it. So yeah, it's pretty freaking crazy. Who's your favorite character from the entire season?
I have to say Loki and the one security guard. What's her name?
Just Big Bertha.
Is that her name?
No, I'm just making it up because she looks like
she has a
she reminds me of Big Bertha from the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie. Just a big, powerful woman.
No, but I think she to me was the character who I thought was. I'm just gonna say it like, they're putting in an African American character for diversity in the show, and they're making her a powerful character who happens to be female, and that's how I interpreted her when I first saw the show.
And as far as I know,
but she had the most development, was more interesting than a lot of the other characters.
Easily. Yeah. In fact, I love how she was sort of integral to this final part in the episode where they're trying to prove to Renslayer kind of everything that's wrong with the TVA and how Mobius was saying kind of like everything's already in motion with getting this fixed. And they go to that one scene where they go to 2018 and you get to see Renslayer as, I'm assuming she was working at a school. She's
a principal. They're proving to the other TVA employees that these are all variants that are staffing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and I thought that was really cool. I love that she was integral to that because she was a really cool character. She had a tremendous personality. I thought she was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's hard to choose favorite characters in the show. You want to say Loki because he's the main character, but there were so many interesting ones in this one. I'm going to give it to Mobius. I really, really liked Mobius in this show. I thought he was a really great sort of sidekick type of character. I think Owen Wilson knocked it out of the park with him, and I can't wait to see more of him in the future.
I agree.
But there's still so many other standouts. Like I did like Sylvie. I thought she was really interesting. I loved how she was Loki just in a very different way.
She was like an extremely damaged Loki.
Oh, beyond damaged. Like that's why even after all that convincing, after that amazing talk that Loki did, she still managed to throw him away and end up killing Kang.
Because nothing was going to... She had decided that revenge was more important than power. And Loki is this weird gray character where he's evolving and actually getting better and better and better. But and I mean that more in like he understands the importance of fighting his own nature.
Exactly.
Like he now is like doing a joke or being mischievous is not as important as I feel it is. I have to be a better person. One of my favorite Loki moments from the season is when he's trapped in the bad memory prison and he has to be confronted by that female character, that Sith, that he cut her hair.
Which at first was played for a joke.
And then he realized, oh shit, like I'm going to have to relive this bad moment over and over and over again.
Exactly. But it ended up being sort of like a springboard for him having to forcibly change his character.
Yes.
Like you said, from the mischievous character that we knew before to arguably an entirely different Loki than we've ever actually seen in any of the previous movies or maybe even the comic books themselves. Like
yes, absolutely.
They've really evolved his character a lot. And I can say that's kind of the case for almost every brand new Disney Plus Marvel show. They've expanded and created these characters and made them more interesting than they could have ever been in the movies.
Absolutely.
But that's, of course, due to the fact that it's a TV show. They have so much more time to develop them as characters and make them more likable and more human in a sense, which I thought was really, really great.
Yeah, and I'm excited to just see, I'm getting a little larger than the actual Loki show. I'm looking more to the future on this statement. I'm excited to see how Doctor Strange deals with this, because you think Doctor Strange would understand what's happening. You would think the Ancient One would know what's going on. You would think that... you would think not that Spider-Man would know, but that maybe Ant-Man would understand there's a disturbance in the Force, if I may say it that way. You would think these characters, this is kind of where they land in understanding things. But I think that also leads us to them having great movies moving forward with this topic. I will say, though, I am borderline, I think I'm a little ahead of the curve here, kind of over this multiverse stuff. Like, they are using it a lot now. I mean, like, it is borderline overused. And in that sense, I'm cautious to say I'm into multiverse stuff being the main plot point for everything.
Okay. I mean...
I'm getting a little overused on the multiverse stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's a little too much damn sauce on the burger, but, like... I like that it's going in this direction because that's always been one of the wildest things about comic books, especially Marvel comics.
They were so ahead of the curve.
Yeah, like this whole multiverse thing is something that's been happening for a very long time in the Marvel comics, 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
This was just kind of like a standard back then, and it took so long to finally get to this point of quality where they can sort of, emulate and maybe even do things better than the comics, and now they can take these concepts, which are very high concepts, like... Did we imagine in 2007 when Iron Man came out, like, that we would be seeing these type of things going on in the movies?
No.
It shows how far they've come and how they kind of have to do this in order to sort of up the ante.
It was just a cool Robot Man movie.
Yeah, that and it was
he shot beams.
Yeah, and it was a sort of a way to reinvent the whole idea of a comic book movie. You could argue that the Batman movies from Christopher Nolan was already doing that, but like the
and
Marvel
then you could
universe,
argue that the Spider-Man movies did that before that, and then you could argue that the X-Men movies did that before that.
Exactly, but it's been this constant state of evolution of having to change itself, and that's kind of what I think we're seeing here with this whole multiverse thing that's going to happen, and I'm excited for it because, even before the final episode of Loki, we're already kind of seeing it. I'm going to go kind of off on a different tangent, if you will, here. We actually got our very first Deadpool MCU crossover.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about that. Thank goodness you brought that up.
So it's not like an official thing or anything, but basically...
What a meta trailer, dude.
It was.
I didn't know that Watiki... How do you say his last name?
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi was going to be the bad guy in the Free Guy movie. Or Free Dude movie. Like, I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Oh, that was him in the trailer. Yeah, when he's like,
he's going to be the bad guy. Yeah. But he's the Rock dude.
Okay, yeah.
You'd understand, and then you understand Deadpool's played by Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. So
yeah, that's
it's this
meta
extra meta trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. Let's bring it back a little bit so people know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, so recently Marvel released a new reaction video to Deadpool and who's the Rock guy? Craig? Is he Craig the Conqueror too?
You mean Korg?
Korg
the Conqueror?
Yeah, so Korg the Rock guy from Thor and Deadpool from Deadpool did a reaction video to is it Free Guy? Is that the name of that? Or
Free Guy or
Free Guy, essentially the GTA movie as I'm dubbing it.
The NPC becomes real.
Yeah.
Or knows he's real.
He figures out he's in a game and then becomes conscious and wants more with his life. So yeah, they have a reaction video where they watch it, and of course, Deadpool's very aware, so he's like, "Oh, I'm watching a video. Isn't this cool? Like and subscribe." And then they bring in the Rock
God,
guy.
he even says smash the like button.
Smash the like button. This reminds you guys for the YouTube algorithm. Smash the like button.
Smash the like button.
You know what I'm saying? It's just so meta, and I'm like, what great marketing! What great marketing! Because I'm saying like this shit is so good that they're like, celebrities already have an audience, so we'll shove it on YouTube, but instead of pretending it's just some awesome overly produced video that we hope gets 1 million views, we'll actually just do a basic YouTube video and then write some jokes for them to say.
Yeah, it's genius. It works so well.
And it's going to happen a lot more.
They're promoting like so many different things at once too.
Yes.
Like that's what's great. It's the new Free Guy movie, the new Deadpool arriving in the MCU. Korg, who's a part of the overall grand MC. I mean, there's
probably
going to
be in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Exactly. Like there are so many things baked into that video that like they're like, this is going to be big. It is awesome. I just could you have predicted that the first character he was going to interact with was going to be fucking Korg?
I think they're trying to play it safe and easy in the beginning, and then
I think
before
that was
you
smart
know it,
too,
they'll do a Thor and Deadpool, and they'll do a this and a Deadpool, and
And then Korg is an inherently goofy and funny character. He totally fits with someone like Deadpool.
I mean, he was playing Fortnite in Endgame.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds and Taika Waititi watching a reaction trailer of a movie that they're both in.
I'm surprised you didn't realize that, and I had to just explain that to you.
I mean, I knew it, but like, it didn't dawn on me until that moment.
How deep meta that goes.
Yeah, like, and one, I completely, forgot that Taika was actually going to be the villain in that movie.
I totally forgot too.
And you know what? The trailer worked too. I want to see Free Guy now. Like, I'm interested to see what that movie is going to be about, despite the fact that it has nothing to do
and I love that,
with Deadpool or MCU or anything.
Deadpool said, didn't this movie come out like 6 months ago? Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, they're actually addressing that. Which
yeah, that
really
has been pushed so many times. Hey, one technical thing. Have we got the sound better?
It seems to be good. Everybody seems to be... No
one's saying anything?
Yeah, everybody
Michael,
seems to be
you're happy with it now?
digging it.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the Free Guy movie looks good. I'm not like holding my breath for it. It's not going to be what gets me back in theaters.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about Black Widow.
Black Widow?
Yeah, none of us has seen it, though.
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen a ton of spoilers about it, though.
Do you just want to talk about it, though? Because I have a few things to say.
Well, here's the thing. I'm planning on seeing it, hopefully this weekend.
Uh-huh.
Probably on Sunday. And
well, it's the internet. Just have an opinion about something you don't know much about.
That works out so well with so many people. I really want to see the movie first before I have my final judgment.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of mixed things about it, though. And like I said, I already know like some big spoilers about the film. Practically the entire movie, stuff about Taskmaster, who's the next major villain in the movie. Some things I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not too thrilled about, but I want to see it first. I want to reserve judgment until I see the actual final product.
Yeah, look, it could just be a bunch of people shitting on the movie because that's what people do now.
Yeah, it's just...
Or it could be actually a good film and people just need to get over their complaints because it's just a different superhero movie than they were expecting. But Black Widow, to me, is not a very deep superhero. Like, she doesn't have powers.
Yeah.
She isn't very interesting because she's supposed to be strong and silent. Guess what? Strong and silent's not interesting all that often.
I know, but I'd say it's more having to do with her backstory as, a Black Widow. Of being trained as like an assassin and everything. I think a lot of that is what's interesting about her character.
Well, guess what? Vision could show up and erase her in 2 seconds. And okay. It wouldn't really
I mean,
matter.
I get it. Like I said, her and Hawkeye have always been sort of like the outliers.
Hell, Hawkeye says, "I'm here fighting robots with a bow and arrow."
None of this makes sense.
Yeah, like he even says it.
So, but I get that. But like I said, maybe we can
we'll touch that. We're gonna do that one next episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's get back to Loki for a second because God, there's still so much more to actually unpack about this episode. Despite the fact that again, not the most exciting finale at all.
Not in an action sense, in a repercussion sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, one of the things I really loved about this episode is, and it's also a detriment to the episode, is how much they actually decided to explain things about this episode, especially
that's
in
a good
regards
point. I'm
to
glad
Kang.
you brought that up because they circle talked a lot in this episode.
A lot, but I love how they explained everything with Kang and how they brought up the fact that there was this multi-dimensional multiverse war that was actually going on, and that it's about to happen again. And it makes me wonder, Kang is arguably being built up as like the next major threat in the Marvel universe.
The next Thanos,
if you will, is basically what they're trying to make him. And even though he's already been cast as like the main villain of Ant-Man and the Wasp, do you think they're going to potentially go even crazier with that and give us many different versions of Kang and a bunch of other things as well? Or are they just going to be blowing their Kang load all over the place?
Well, I think the multiverse concept is something that could easily be overused. Again, I've already told you, I think 2 or 3 times. I'm kind of over multiverse ideas in movies, but I think it's just going to be him as one really powerful entity.
Yeah.
But he could easily make fake clones of himself or something like that. I know nothing of this guy's powers. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are telling me more than I ever knew about this character. You guys have been predicting it was going to be him.
I mean, Kang is a time traveler. One of the biggest things that's kind of interesting about his character, and also about this episode that I think a lot of people are going to be speculating about, is the fact that he was indeed once human, and his original human name, I believe, was Nathaniel Richards. And that name is going to sound really familiar to certain people, because apparently he's actually directly related to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, which is obviously...
Another very smart person,
exactly.
a scientist-based person.
Obviously, things are going to change a little bit now due to the nature of Kang in this show, but it's going to be interesting to see like how they go forward with that. But ultimately, in the comics, he is essentially just a time traveler, and that's always been a big problem in the Marvel universe with time travel. And obviously,
so he has
it's a big thing
powers.
I'm sure he has some powers of some kind.
Knowing what things are going to happen
I couldn't tell you what they are.
But he doesn't shoot beams, or maybe he will.
He might be a beam dude. He might have super strength. He might be able to fly.
Maybe that hand disc he had.
But we can assume that he is a time traveling genius. That he has a lot of technology on his side. And that ultimately is going to make him one hell of a threat. I mean, one of his variants, who is not supposedly as evil as the true Kang, did all this with the TVA. Imagine what a fully evil, driven Kang could actually do.
Yes.
I mean, that was one of my favorite parts about that episode, when he was just like, and I'm one of the good ones, if you can believe that.
Yeah. He didn't set up... it was part of his genius writing by the staff at Marvel that you didn't want to believe him, even though he was probably obviously telling the truth. Because hell, the whole damn Loki show is about people lying and kind of getting away with it and deceiving people.
Yeah, and the actor who played him, I thought was really good. Like, he was, I was fully convinced that this guy was a crazy dude who's been around for eons, controlling everything, and he's finally just at the end of his rope and sick of doing things, and just kind of wants to pass the torch on to see what's going to potentially happen next. Because he said, even if I die, things are, in a way, going to go back to normal. I mean, eventually, this whole, like, multi-universe thing is going to get wrangled again, and then eventually I'll come back and the whole process will start over. Reincarnation, baby! It's a thing that could potentially happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish I knew more about Kang. I should have read like his Wikipedia page or something before we started. But he is an interesting bad guy. I'm excited that we're getting a big bad guy that isn't just super strong, or like I'm super durable. Like a Thanos is a one-dimensional standard bad guy in my. Yes, he had a motivation for it, but at the end of the day, he's just a really strong big dude.
Okay, well, I consulted the most trusted source on the planet, which is Wikipedia. So let's go ahead and look at some of these crazy abilities that Kang the Conqueror is going to have. Kang has no superhuman abilities, but he is an extraordinary genius, an expert historical scholar, and a master physicist, specializing in time travel. Of course, he's an engineer and a technician. He's armed with 40th century technology, which is insane, wearing highly advanced battle armor that enhances his strength. Is capable of energy, hologram, and force field projection, and he has a 30-day supply of air and food built directly into his suit and his other ships and forms of moving around. All of this is courtesy of his time ship. Kang has access to technology from any century, being that he is a time traveler. He even claimed that his ship alone could destroy the moon itself. He is also far more resistant to radiation than humans from the present timeline. So
he's just a very advanced time traveler that has taken advantage of advanced technologies.
He also seems to have a weapon which is called, and this is such a great comic,
the Kang gun?
The Ultra Diode Ray Gun. And it's able to sap the will of human beings, and at a high frequency, it's able to weaken superhuman beings and prevent the use of their powers. So, yeah, they can be freed from its effects, apparently if the gun is fired at them a second time. So, yeah, like I was saying, he's a time traveler, has access to infinite number of possibilities of getting technology and weapons, and that makes him one hell of a threat.
It's interesting. I'm excited to see where they go with this. I'm excited to see the new Spider-Man trailer when that comes out. We'll definitely do a podcast about that when that goes up.
Here's a nice little classic comic book image
of Kang.
Of Kang, just hanging out, doing his thing.
On his beanbag.
That's right. I do like how in the final shot of the episode, when you see the statue of him, it is this classic outfit that he is wearing.
Yes.
His face still doesn't look like classic Kang yet, which is like blue and weird and covered in like a purple helmet. I kind of hope they, keep pushing for that though, because I love the look of the comic characters.
I think it's a theme of the Marvel universe that they get closer and closer to comic book look. I mean, we had the Loki variants that slowly got more and more
classic Loki played by Richard E. Grant.
Yes.
Again, I think I loved him as a character too.
Yeah, he
One,
was
just
great.
because I got a hard on for classic looking comic book characters.
Yes.
But like, I was
Even though they all at some point start looking like cosplayers.
they do, but that was like
there's a line there.
That was like the best cosplay ever, and I love that we got like a classic looking Loki in that as well. I thought
agree.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
Alligator Loki, I think, speaks for himself.
We don't need to say much. There were so many good like nuggets in that Loki episode, the second from the last one. I think there's like a tiny Thor in a bottle.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we were watching that episode. We literally we're like, wait, what the fuck was that?
There was also a Thanos copter.
Yeah, the Thanos copter.
There was a lot of little nuggets there, and they had a lot of fun with that episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
That whole world itself, like, there's a lot of like pause and you'll miss it moments. Like I think Avengers Tower is actually like a version of it is there in the background.
Yeah.
And it also has the words Kang on it, which is again like kind of a pun on Kang and something that actually happened in the comics. So yeah, this multiverse shit is crazy. It's so crazy, in fact, that the MCU itself could very well just basically be a part of the overall Marvel universe itself. The MCU is its very own dimension, even within the multiverse of the comics.
That makes sense.
Which I think is awesome. That's another reason why I like multiverse stuff, is because, you know, it gives you a number of chances to do a lot of different things and to take crazy chances. And the MCU has definitely been, you know, taking some crazy chances with some of the decisions they've been making with their TV shows and their movies going forward.
Do we have any cool comments that we want to touch base on?
Let me check right now. I think everybody's just kind of hanging, doing their thing. Nothing really all that much here. They did say that they released an episode list for Marvel's What If. I've been looking for it, but I can't find it. And the reason I want to look at it is because, again, we're gonna.
Is there a Kang episode?
We're gonna figure out like what these actual the content of the Marvel's What If is actually going to be. In some ways, I think it's a little too spoilery, but at the same time, I kind of want to know, just so I can kind of know what I'm getting into here. But overall, I loved the first season of Loki. It really blew me away with its quality, which every single time like a new episode came out, it just reminded me that, damn, these TV shows are just, they've caught up to the movies. And I mean, they look just as good. And I appreciate these shows maybe a little bit more than the movies at this point.
Yeah, you definitely seem to be more into the shows than the movies. And to be honest, I like the shows. They get more time to develop characters. You get all this great quality, and only a 60-minute thing instead of an hour and a half or 2 hours. Mm-hmm. But you just get really good quality. You get to really hone in on a topic.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in a movie.
Yeah.
You get 15 minutes of backstory, but in the shows you get a whole hour. You know, so it's like it's just better. I just think people are dissecting the trailer for the like Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the What If Marvel show. Peggy Carter taking the super soldier.
Yeah.
T'Challa as Star-Lord. Winter Soldier versus Marvel Zombies.
I didn't. Oh yeah, I was looking back on a lot of the screenshots. And Michael, I know you'll probably find this interesting. One of the concepts of What If is basically Spider-Man is Doctor Strange. Like they're combining the two characters in one, which I think is
a great concept.
Awesome. And it's also going to make some really cool action figures from Marvel Legends as well. Because it's just like Spider-Man wearing like the cape and like doing all the magic stuff. It looks really damn cool.
That sounds like an extremely overpowered character.
I know it does, but it's awesome.
It's a super person plus magic.
It's so cool, man.
Because that's the one thing I don't like about Doctor Strange. He's kind of a glass cannon. He's just a dude that has magic. Like he's not powerful.
No.
Can't bench 350.
No, he's not physically strong.
At all, you know?
Unless he uses some sort of like buff magic or some kind.
Buff magic. He puts a spell on his bicep.
Yeah. Buff Bagwell it up, man. That's how Doctor Strange does it. Also, part of me wanted to hope that Miss Minutes was going to be the true villain.
Miss Minutes?
Because I just thought that would be funny if like the villain of Loki ended up being a cartoon clock. Voiced by Tara Strong.
They kind of hinted at that, but not really.
No, she's just the ultimate sidekick of Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
Or one of the Kang the Conquerors.
Or, you know what she really is? She's a lookout for him.
Yeah, basically. Just make sure no one gets too close.
Yeah.
Especially with that big offer at the end, you know, like, you guys can rule everything, it's all good. But she had a much bigger presence in this episode as well, which I think is just great because it's a cartoon clock and it's hilarious to me. And she's voiced by Tara Strong, and she has this adorable little southern accent. Yeah. And she's a clock in space. Like, I don't know, it's just that type of weirdness I love that is so prevalent throughout Loki. That's one of the... I love when goofy, schlocky comic book logic is embraced in these things. I hate when they shy away from that and everybody's wearing black spandex and they don't look like their comic book versions.
They all look like soldiers in like special ops outfits instead of like
You know,
comic
I
book
like
heroes.
that Thanos looked like Thanos.
Yeah.
I loved that Deadpool looks like Deadpool, and I love that there is a talking cartoon clock in this universe. It's just awesome. I love it. I love the embracing of the weirdness, and I'm hopeful for season 2. I don't know when it's coming. I'd like to imagine it's going to be a good while, and I can't wait to see if it's going to have even more of an effect on the movies or if it's going to stem off from them. Boy, I hope they're working on it soon.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts? Anything else on Loki?
No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great show. It might be my favorite, but at the same time, I still liked WandaVision the most for sure right now. I maybe watch Loki, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, there it is, guys. Make sure to tell us what you thought about Loki if you did watch the entire show, the final episode, any thoughts, theories, hopes, and dreams for the future of this franchise. But we're going to end on a more disgusting note today because we're going to talk about the latest episode of Rick and Morty, from one sci-fi thing to another. We've already been talking about it pretty much every podcast because, damn it, this season has just been incredible, and they keep managing to one-up themselves in a lot of funny ways. And in many ways, of the season, this might be the most classic episode of Rick and Morty.
Yes.
Because of just the overall story itself being very irreverent and not really just following any sort of specific rules or anything. And the entire thing was all about giant sperm monsters and horse chuds.
Horse chuds. I like that they just committed to this being a horribly disgusting episode. Morty was using the horse semen collector at his mom's horse hospital.
Yeah.
And Rick tried to do experiments on it, and then he sort of thinks that he created the monsters on accident, and Morty started lying about it the whole time, that he had nothing to do with it.
Like, the whole episode is basically just trying to get them to admit that Morty fucked up, and he's responsible for all this bad shit that's going on.
Yes. And it's a really gross episode. Like, I kind of don't want to describe this on the internet. But
I don't give a shit. It's giant sperm monsters, and it's hilarious. And I love it, too, because it's such a juxtaposition to the last episode where the whole thing all ended with Morty trying to take the moral high ground. And then they open up an episode where he fucks a horse semen collecting machine, and it dooms the entire planet.
I didn't realize that it kind of is all about horses, because the horse...
The chuds, yeah.
The horse hospital, the horse creatures.
Yeah.
It's a lot of horse... And I love the jabs at Vegas.
Yes. Oh, my God.
They have a lot of good jabs at Vegas. Honestly, if you haven't seen the episode, you need to stop this podcast and go watch it. It's very good.
It is pretty amazing.
It's pretty ridiculous. A lot of people hated it. I think it's getting the same...
Really? People hated it?
I mean, look at this article I'm looking at. Rick and Morty Season 5, the show is smarter than this.
Oh, come on.
Like,
not every episode...
It has to be a deep concept.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a fucking dissertation about time travel and our feelings. Like, we had the last episode that was this deep morality episode, and now we got one that's a little more fun. Is this the slut dragons of the season, you think?
I think that's where I was going with this. This is the slut dragons of the season, which of all... I don't actually like the slut dragon episode. I know you love it, but I don't.
I fucking love it.
I think there's better episodes than that. But at the same time... Look, they just went for it. You know, they just went for it. They're going to have some crappy episodes in the sense that they're not all deep and meaningful and personal development.
Like, let's make some cum and Han Solo jokes. Hand job solo.
Solo.
Let's make funny jokes about jizz because jizz is funny.
That's enough.
It's a funny thing. It's not inherently deep. It's not Shakespearean writing or anything, but it's comedy, and that's ultimately what Rick and Morty is all about. And they're not going to take the high ground on this one. They're going to do a show about giant goddamn sperm monsters.
You should see there's a behind the scenes element they recorded where they all talk about the episode, and it practically ends with all of them being embarrassed that they wrote the episode. And I like that they left that in.
I love that even they felt that way as
they're
they
like,
were making it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah,
and then,
pretty much.
You know, in Summer and the woman aspect. Remember how
oh god,
Summer and what's the mom's name? Why am I forgetting?
Beth
are like coming up with the actual good ideas. And then
they just keep getting shot down by the president. By the way, the return of Keith David, who is always funny every single time.
Their weird sort of Obama hyper reality president that they have in there.
I love the president in Rick and Morty. I love how he's always at odds with Rick too. It always makes for a really funny episode when you know he's going to be involved. And yeah, they kept undercutting Beth and Summer the entire episode.
And she's like, oh, now you know what it's like to be a woman. You know, and I was just like, oh, that's a deep dig. And then they brought
in Dr. Shabubu.
Yeah, Dr. Shabubu. who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the character from Stargate.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Just the main guy with the glasses, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they always bring in the nerdy guy holding
like-
the papers.
Yeah, exactly. With a splash of Jeff Goldblum from Independence Day.
Yeah.
But definitely like the Stargate
No,
influence.
no. It's more the splash of Pee Wee Herman in Independence Day.
Pee Wee Herman.
Who's that guy? The mad scientist in the government facility that reveals that there were aliens in Independence Day. You remember he has the long white hair?
Oh, no, that's Data from Star Trek.
Oh, that's not
Yeah.
the Pee Wee Herman guy?
No, it's
but
not.
it kind of feels like the...
No, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
that
always
government
forget his
bringing
name.
in the scientist trope is used many times. Actually, I'm going to look up the Stargate guy.
Okay. But yeah, like you said, the horse theme was like kind of prevalent throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
Especially just with the introduction of the Chuds, who are another one of those just. It seems like almost every episode this season is introducing this weird sort of species of characters. Like first you had the weird Hoovy and his people from the first episode of the season. Now you got these ridiculous Chud characters, and the term Chud I've seen in so many different like mediums. We were looking like a crappy B sci-fi movie with them. And this one, they just turn them into horses, and of course they give them.
Look at that. That's practically the character.
Yeah, that's him right there. It's you. You were literally just talking to me.
And then they bring in that character from. Anyway, so it's the smart guy that repeats the women's ideas. That's not what happened in Stargate.
Yeah, wait,
but
who is that actor?
It's the guy that plays Ultron.
That's James Spader?
Doesn't he look so different when
I was
he's
going to
younger?
say, because I looked at his face, I'm like, wait a minute, but he's got all this hair.
I know, he was a
like,
pretty handsome dude back in the day. Now he's
That is Ultron.
And look at fucking Kurt Russell.
Jesus, man, look how chiseled he is right there,
Yeah,
man.
I know. Fuck, man.
God, Kurt in his prime, man.
And this is a great 90s movie. If you ever want to watch a weird 90s movie where it's kind of like Dances with Wolves with sci-fi.
You're into Dances with Wolves.
Well,
today,
it's all about, I'm giving away the ending. I'm sorry. They save the people after they go through the thing, and then the one scientist decides to stay back because he gets a hot local chick, and he decides to help them. I hate the ending like that, though. I'll be honest. Like, oh, no, I like these people, and guess what? I like them more than my modern society, so I'll stay back with them. No, dude. You want some fucking running water and a real toilet, okay? You do not want to live in that desert world.
This feels like a conversation for a whole other podcast right here. You feel so strongly about this.
You just don't want that.
I haven't seen Stargate, I think, literally since it came out.
Dude.
I was in the 90s. I want to say,
And this is
was
James
it like
Spader, you said is the guy's name?
Yeah, James Spader.
I'm so bad with names.
I remember because we were talking about this the other day, and you're like, "Yeah, we watched Stargate," and you told me James Spader was in that, but I did not remember him being Booger Boy.
He looks like Booger Boy.
Oh my god!
Like, look at these 20. Like, that's the character from fucking Rick and Morty.
Damn,
okay. It's the same character.
That is.
It looks like they used James Spader's
his likeness.
Yeah,
for the episode about giant fucking sperm.
Yeah.
God, that is so. Genius.
I have never seen the Stargate show. I have no interest in it, but I just.
Isn't that Stargate SG-1?
Yeah,
or
you're
something?
not getting
like it has some sort of. I never watched it. It seemed like the type of show that was like, was it on Sci-Fi?
I feel like we should have put Stargate in the title of this episode. No,
I feel like we have.
now.
Oh my god.
Stargate.
Fucking Stargate.
If you want to watch a feel-good sci-fi movie from the 90s, it's on Netflix. Check it out.
Yeah. Speaking of Independence Day, the name of this episode was Rick Dependent Spray.
God damn it, that's a great title.
It is a great title. We're not even talking about what might be the most fucked up part of the episode. So
I'm kind of ignoring going deep into the episode on purpose because there's a lot of messed up shit.
No, we're talking about it right now. So the giant sperm monsters are taking over the entire planet, and the government comes up with this plan where they're basically going to take a giant egg which needs to be fertilized.
Yeah.
And the whole plan is a backfire because all the fucking giant sperm monsters are going to head towards it, and they're Morty sperm because they came from him.
Yeah.
And they're going into Summer's egg because apparently they took it from her off screen.
Oh no, you're going there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So now they're afraid that not only are they going to have giant sperm monsters, but there's going to be a giant destructive incest baby.
The incest baby, as they refer to it.
And it almost seems like it's not going to happen. Like, all right,
they're like, that was one step too far.
We're not going to cross this line. We're just going to stay right here. And then at the very end, there's this one sperm that's like really like loyal to Morty. Yeah. It's like different than all the other ones, and he calls him Sticky because sperm. And it just ends up flying into the egg anyway, and they launch it in this
Sticky,
giant.
No!
Fuck! And then they end up launching him into space, and they do this crazy, ridiculous, stupid post-credit scene where there's this astronaut who's questioning his role in the universe and his job and leaving his family and not and basically being haunted by the fact that he's not able to raise his child.
Anyway, this is the scene where he brings all the paperwork into the room.
Just with all the maps and
I'm sorry, I had to bring it up.
There's no doubt that they were
that's just such a 90s thing.
Yeah,
anyway,
I mean,
sorry.
Rick and Morty, they take stuff from every type of
Sorry,
sci-fi thing.
I had to bring that up.
So, yeah, it's
the incest
big, giant
baby
incest baby
is the post-credits.
It comes in like fucking 2001: A Space Odyssey style,
Yeah.
and it just freaks you out, and you're just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Makes
so, yeah,
no sense.
They didn't take the high ground. We had an incest baby from Morty and Summer.
Digging into the low ground the whole episode.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the badass, like, G.I. Joe Cobra guy.
Blazin.
Blazin.
Who's one of the best
Worst
stupid side
characters.
characters. He's like this, you said like G.I. Joe, right?
Who's Cobra? Who's not Cobra?
It's like Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
It's a
like
Snake
a Snake
Eyes guy.
Eyes type of character
Yeah.
named Blazin.
Blazin.
They build him up for like 10 minutes, and he just dies in the most hilarious way possible.
And they reveal he's wearing a thong.
Exactly.
It's dumb.
It's a dumb joke.
They threw him away in a big way.
They did. But I love those type of characters in Rick and Morty. I had a feeling he was going to die in a super violent way.
I thought he was going to do some backflips and kill a few sperm first.
It's something. But that was the joke, though. Like, he's so pathetic. He couldn't even use his sword properly. It fell off the ceiling right into him, and he died. It was just... it was great.
Really don't get the point of that episode, because even Blazin's like girlfriend or wife came up and she's like, you should always tell the truth, like really drilling into Morty that he messed up.
And then he finally tells the truth, and she gets pissed.
And then it's like they really threw away any moral high ground of this episode.
Yeah.
On purpose. They dug in on nothing.
Yeah. And they're
And that
like,
is
fuck it,
interesting.
we're sacrificing it to sperm monsters.
Yeah, and incest babies. And
Yeah.
that was it. And that was it. And I was just like, wow, what an intense way to go on this episode.
Yeah.
Because look, there's a few episodes left of Rick and Morty. There's quite a few.
There are, and I want to go ahead and say this because this is getting me excited. I know when the
The sperm monsters are?
Well, I know when the
Okay.
Voltron episode is going to come in. But first, we have the 3 episode titles for the next couple episodes. One of them is a Morty Can Graffiti, which is American Graffiti. We have Rick and Morty's Thanksploitation Spectacular. But here's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. Gotron Jerry Sis Rick Vangelion.
Wow.
So not only are we getting
Ultron and Evangelion
and
in the title?
Evangelion in the title. So
Wow.
I'm so excited to see, because they're going to make fun of Ultron.
Of course.
But boy, I cannot wait to hear their critique on Evangelion and how up its own ass it is about things. Like, I really hope they have fun with that.
They're going to have so much fun with that.
And I can't wait too, because it's Jerry, and I want him to say ridiculous anime words again, like Akita.
Did you make my son an Akita?
Like, exactly. I want to see Rick and Morty make fun of anime a little bit more, just because it needs to happen, and I guarantee they could do it in the funniest way possible. But yeah, again, I thought, the internet might have hated this episode. I think it's great. I think every single episode this season has been introducing some great new characters that are all so memorable.
Yeah.
If it's not fucking Hoovy or Planetina or Sticky, they're all great. His name was Sticky.
What's the name of the creature they had to kill because of the frost?
What?
You know the episode? It was like a cutaway joke where it's not
talking about Bebo again.
Bebo, yeah.
That was from one of the previous
not
seasons,
Bebo!
but they do a great job.
Hurry, it's gonna have
of
freeze
doing that.
flash. We gotta
Yeah.
get inside Bebo.
Oh my god.
Bebo led us to water.
Yeah.
I love that joke.
Here's a fun fact, because we've been talking about. I'm so
Sorry,
glad
we
this-
haven't been looking at comments.
All right, so this is from Faraz Tahir. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Recently, it's been discovered that sperm can survive in Mars up to 6 years. Now people are thinking reproduction of the human race can now be carried over at Mars. So guess what? It's going down on the fucking red planet.
It's time to start shooting loads into space, guys.
That's right. I
God
think
damn it.
if there was not a better way to end this podcast than that right there. So
aim for the heavens.
that's right, guys. Aim high, Willie. Aim high. So thank you guys again for joining us for another live edition of the Powerful Nerdcast. We had a lot of fun with this one today, talking about Loki and Rick and Morty. Make sure to join in
And
the
Sticky.
comments section. And Sticky.
Yeah.
We can't forget Sticky.
So sticky that like button, guys.
Sticky that like button and put it into a sock or a well-folded shirt. And make sure to tell us all the things you loved about Loki and Rick and Morty and what other subjects you guys want us to talk about in other podcasts. Remember, make sure to tune in so we can see your comments live. We would love to answer any and all questions. And like we said at the very beginning, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this content. Check us out on Patreon. Christian, you got anything else you want to leave us with?
No, I think we have some more plans for the future. Like, we want to start scheduling these 24 hours in advance so you guys can see that they're coming up. We're just getting better at this before we do that. Like, we've got to just get better at this before we're trying to, like, schedule it often. But please make sure to like and subscribe and smash the bell. We really appreciate it, guys. And thanks for all the comments. I know we're not responding to every one, but we always go back and read them. And it helps us make each show better and better. And thanks so much for watching.
All right. Well, guys, we'll see you next time.